Why does my I am differ from yours? You are? That's a good question. Sometimes when the phone rings, you answer, "Who is calling?" And they seem surprised and ask you, "Don't you recognize me?" When someone has such a demand, one thing is for sure. You know very well who he is. Why does this happen? Because obviously the way he speaks to you, the tone of his voice, but also what he tells you, identifies him. This is the good part of our story. Unfortunately, there is a bad side too. In the Beyond Gate, we go without a physical body, so the tone of the voice, the way we are talking and all that, for example, the wood of the coffin, the emblem of the hearse, etc., do not give any information, simply because we do not carry them with us. Imagine if it was possible to pass such information, and let's say you sounded like a famous actor. James Earl Jones, for example, so when they asked you who you were and you replied in a deep voice, "I am," they would wonder in a sock. Is Darth Vader visiting us? Fortunately, however, this is not possible. Did you finish with the worldly matters? Very well, go to the cashier, and please give back whatever is not yours. You went in fully dressed and came out naked. This is the truth of life. That's why in the funerals one might wonder who is rich and who is poor. Since, as the elderly used to say, the grave clothes have no pockets, the grave clothes have nothing, and the angel devils do not allow you to hold anything in your hands either. Whatever you manage to bloom in the heart which that body carried is what you take with you. In general, we leave behind anything fake and phony we had adopted in our lives. The reason is simple. Every person has its own personality. Due to the law of dissimilarity which governs nature, circumvention of that law has an appropriate punishment. So be careful, because unfortunately the human being has a tendency during its life to adapt to how others behave, and that must change. We started okay, but somewhere along the line, we go off track. When we realize it, we start running, but we don't have the necessary time anymore. Someone, possibly naive, might ask, what does it matter? Well, it's a matter of overcrow to joke around. What value does a library have if it has 3,000 volumes of the same book? It's not a library, it's a paper store. And in these cases, similar texts are sent for recycling. That is precisely what is done to the human copies. They are sent for recycling, the body in the material store, and the rest in the corresponding areas. But there, since the information they carry is already recorded, they become just a number added for statistical purposes only. What should we do then? Because what I am reading gives me the chills. Everyone can assert his real personality by getting rid of any inherent dynamic properties, any belief, theory, perception, or opinion that is incompatible with his judgment and conscience. He must also be relieved of any intellectual or moral prevention. In order to assert his personality, man has to eliminate evil, passions, and his faults, to be freed from all the conditions, customs, and practices that can enslave the expression of his thought, strengthen the energy of his spirit, soul, and body, and dare to express his own views of truth, right and moral in all circumstances. This process is painful. It cuts out everything fake, but this cutting must be permanent. We do not leave one situation to stick to another. What is usually happening? We shout, "I saw the real light." The truth was revealed to me. That is, I was stuck in one view, and now I got stuck in another. And since this other one seems to me like an eternal truth, we say with smugness, "I have a genuine personality, not so fast." Everyone thinks he has an authentic personality, but that's not always the case. Actually, it rarely is. It's not my purpose to talk about how the final image should be. I do not know. What I'm saying is what the final image should not be. Although the catchword for the gatekeeper to recognize you is probably known, where he sends you afterward remains a mystery. If you simply state your name, he won't even look in your direction. If you say to him, "Do you know who I am?" he will most certainly press the button and send you in the trash bin. If you happen to say, "I am," he will look at you mysteriously and send you inside. But it is of great importance how you tell the fucking catchword. For example, if you're a fan of Manchester and you claim to be a fan of Chelsea, the real followers understand you at once. You think you can fool the delegates of God. So, when you decide to measure and check if you really have the skills, you have to do just one thing. Stand from the right side of the table to avoid what happened to the Englishman in Scotland. P.S. For those who do not know the relevant joke, I quote it, even though it is a dirty one. Early in the afternoon, an Englishman enters a pub in Scotland to drink a beer. There is no one there besides the barman. "What do you do to pass the time around here?" he asks the bartender. "We take out our dicks and we measure them," the bartender responds. "How do you do that exactly?" the Englishman asked. "We place them on the table and we mark with a line the edge, so we know the result." The Englishman looks at the table and notices many scars, but the length seemed small to him. "May I?" he asked the bartender. "Of course," the bartender replies. The Englishman did so, and after seeing the result, he turns to the barman and says, "It seems I come first in the count." "Nope, you just sat on the wrong side of the table."